talking to? What are you trying to prove to everyone else? Who is superior? How is your vision clearer than anyone else? Your head's in the sky, in flight, but you will crash and burn. But you will crash it!
Welcome to Agency Land, a podcast about advertising, ambition, and the lies we tell ourselves to survive both. I'm Jai Smith, and this is your survival guide. Today's guest started off as a brand manager at Red Bull, moved into PR for a bit, then did something that most agencies only talk about. You went out and built your own thing, first as Ms. Darlinghurst, then the food blogger behind Eat, Drink, Play, which grew to over 100,000 newsletter subscribers, Secret Foodies, producing secret location events, dining across Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, and now you run Darling Crackles, a specialty hospitality marketing agency in Sydney. But Alex, who on earth are you today? Like, that is a resume, that is a career, that's a life people would die for.
Who am I today? I feel like you've caught me in a really interesting moment, and it was probably even when I agreed to come on, I was like, oh, I don't know, it's still so raw. Because I've had some major changes even in the last 3-4 months in terms of Sealand, which I'm sure we'll sort of talk a little bit to, but these days I still wear multiple hats. I still have several businesses, Eat, Drink, Play. Well, I think it's been 16 years now. So Eat, Drink, Play, and also Secret Foodies. And then I think it's been about 8 years since I started Darling Crackles, the hospitality marketing agency, which was just like a natural evolution and something I'd wanted to do for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm still super passionate about hospitality. I'm, still here to help it thrive, and still love immersing myself in anything to do with what's next, tech. Like, I'm obsessed with AI at the moment. So yeah, still that person. Also a mum of 2, juggling 2 kids under 5, 3 businesses, multiple staff, trying to be a millennial mum who maintains friendships. Like, it's a lot. I've never been one to look at what I've done. I'm always like, oh, that was great.
Yeah.
What's the next thing? And right now, the latest thing that's sort of been on my mind is mainly external factors. I think people you can get really fixated on like what your agency is doing, what your business is doing, which I have always been like that. I've been quite, okay, it's interesting what competitors do, but let's just focus on what I'm doing and what we're doing as a business. But lately, it's been really hard to ignore external factors that are beyond our control, like World War III and an AI takeover, and like, what is the future of how we're consuming media? So lately I have been a little bit spirally about things that are out of my control, and I'm not the only one. Surely I'm not the only one here.
Well, it sounds like today, like those things that still ring true, is you're still more interested in what's going to happen rather than what's happened in the past. Do you find that's your driver? Because it seems to be a really positive motivator for you, where I think a lot of us, like me in particular, again, if my bit of sharing is, if I worry too much about tomorrow, I kind of forget to enjoy today and forget to enjoy or celebrate the wins.
That's a good mantra to have. Maybe I need a bit more of that in my life. And that's how I always had been in terms of like, it's great. But I think, just recently it's been about, how do you get ahead of the curve a little bit here? Because we are in the middle of from all agency, we are in the middle of a huge shift that we haven't seen in a long time. And, in terms of how people are consuming media, how people are getting marketed to, how people are, where agency has a place, is very different. And we haven't seen a shift like this in the last, I don't know, decade or 2. Don't you think?
Well, I totally agree, and that's really where I wanted to start today. If we go back to the Ms. Darlinghurst era, if we go back to your first you know, in retrospect, when I was preparing for this, I'm like, you basically were an agency producing content, building audiences. It's just that your client was yourself, but also all these brands you did it on behalf of. And, you know, at the time we just called it blogging. But what made you, and, you know, obviously it grew to something much bigger than a blog, but, you know, you've two decades ago, that was a big shift in how we consumed media, but also hospitality, becoming a foodie. That was a fairly new thing. What made you think there was an audience for that you wanted to get involved in, that grew to such a big audience and such a big influential kind of personality behind that?
Yeah, you know what's interesting? Here I am looking at what's coming next and what's the future, but it's amazing how history repeats itself. And I had this
Yeah.
real, it was probably last year. So Terry Durack, one of Australia's most influential food critics, worked for Sydney Morning Herald for a very long time. He was like the chief food critic and very traditional newspapers. He just started a Substack. Was it Substack? Oh, he started a blog.
Yep.
And I was like, just stop. Terry Durack
Yeah.
started a blog. Like, pinch me now. This is hilarious. Because
But we all, but like Substacks are cool and blogs aren't. Like, you just caught me out then because I said blog and I'm like, oh, I've just totally put down your empire. But now we just call them Substacks and you're cool again.
I
So,
don't know, but it was a crazy moment when he retired and then went, I'm going to be a blogger. Because I have to take you back 20 years ago to when I started Eat, Drink, Play. Now, I studied print majored journalism when I went to university. So it was like how to write feature articles, how to write newspaper articles, you know, and broadsheet. It wasn't the broadsheet that we know now, the lifestyle publication. It was how to write a broadsheet newspaper. Like that's what we're talking about
they're
here.
the different formats.
Yeah, shorthand, journalism, like I don't, you know, kids will be lucky to know how to write now, but let alone shorthand. So that's going back then, right? And I came out of uni, couldn't get a job. I did a year of PR and hated it. I was just collecting the mail and cutting out articles, and it was terrible. So I did that for a year, then got offered, you know, I think 30 grand a year, and I couldn't even pay my rent on that. And I was like, nah, I'm out. So I ended up falling into the corporate world. I was wearing a suit. I was doing sales, and I was like, this is what I want to do. So I went back and I did this little refresher course at the community college on writing because I wanted to get back to my writing. And there was a 2-hour lesson on blogging. And I was like, what is blogging? And there weren't that many people doing blogs at the time. So I went home and I did a little YouTube on like how to build a blog and set one up overnight. I was living in Darlinghurst at the time. So Ms. Darlinghurst was born, and Eat, Drink, Play, I, you know, came about that. And by day I was wearing my suit to work, and by night I was Ms. Darlinghurst writing about bars and restaurants and whatnot. And around about time I met you, and you were like, oh, your website's crap. Let me help you. And thank God you did. I did WordPress and, you know, rebuilt my website and helped me from that side of things. But I was always really interested in, this is pre-Instagram. So we're talking like Twitter.
Yeah.
Everyone was about Twitter. And, you know, I thought that was really an interesting space. And I remember I started to get invited to events like dinners, and I'd be sitting there and I'd be the only online like influencer. It wasn't even called influencers.
Wow.
Blogger. And I was like the only one sitting around a table of print journalists. And they had this air of arrogance almost of like, oh, what is that? Oh, am I, you know, the print publications they were working for. And I'm certainly not saying Terry Durack had an air of arrogance. He's a very lovely man, but you know, he was kind of he is a metaphor for like what was happening at that time.
Yeah.
A couple of years go by, and these people are starting, their publications start going online, and so they're like, oh, how do you write clickable articles? Because all of a sudden their KPI went from word count to clicks, and then all of a sudden it shifted, and being out at events, it was less print journos and there was more influencer bloggers, and to where we are today, where everyone has it's all online publication. You're sitting at dinners next to TikTokers, and Terry Durack has a blog. So here we are.
And again, you know, there's that terrible cliche, history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. But I think you're right. In this case, it's absolutely repeating itself. And then if I look at your next career step with Secret Foodies, while the rest of the world is going online, including yourself, you're like, wait, no, I want to start something physical, which I think we're definitely seeing right now. Like, I'm going back to networking events. Even though, and our behind the scenes listeners, watchers, that's going to be a weird thing to say, is that Alex knows that I was always like violently, podcast has to be in person. We've had a diary fuck up. I'm in New Zealand. She's at the office. So just that's what's going on. But you've gone back
You've gone back
into the office.
I'm in a
In a
storeroom, just so
hey,
you know. I don't know if you're
that's called a
recording this, but
media
I'm in a
editing room.
storeroom.
History will be kind. We'll definitely be asking me about that. Then you took Secret Foodies, right? So it's totally different business. It is not the same model. Yes, it's sort of about the same, subject matter industry category. But what made you find that niche? What made you want to go do that as you're going online? Like to anyone else, it would seem nuts.
No, I know. So it was only about 6 months later that I was like, oh, this is great. I'm connecting with people online. But I was like, hang on a minute. Like, I'm a country girl originally, and Sydney's been home for about 20 years now. But I'm originally from Broken Hill. And when I moved to Sydney for uni, I would get on the train and I would talk to people. Hey, how you going? Where are you off to today? No one does that. And then no, so cute. And then a couple of years in, I realized I was on a train and someone talked to me. And I remember thinking, what are you talking to me for, you weirdo? And I put my headphones back in and I was like, no, I've changed. Who am I? And so I think there was a part of me that was, even from 16 years ago when I started Secret Foodies, looking to bring people to connect offline and in real life. And Sydney can be really cliquey. It's a hard place to meet new people. And also venues, I wanted to shine a light on, different restaurants and different venues. And so, the idea of inviting 10 friends to a secret dinner party, bring one person I've never met before, 20 people come. We had a fantastic evening. I quit my job so that was on the Friday. And on Monday, I quit my job and gave this. I was like, I'm out. I'm going to run secret dinner parties. I'm going to make Eat, Drink, Play happen. I was not making any money from Eat, Drink, Play. I hadn't worked out how to monetize the online publication yet. People weren't advertising like there. But Secret Foodies made money from the beginning because it was an events business. And I was like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. And then fast forward to where we are today. And I had, when I had the kids, I mean, we also went through COVID. Before COVID, Secret Foodies was in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Sunshine Coast. Plus, we did lots of brand collabs, corporate events. Like, it was thriving. And then COVID hit, and obviously that was dire for events and hospitality in general, but I also had 2 babies very close together. And I'd lost a little bit of passion for Secret Foodies because I was like, oh, I don't want to be hosting events. I just want to be at home with the kids and I'm just exhausted. And but in 2026, out of all the businesses I have, Secret Foodies is the most important, I think, because in an era of, because in a time of AI and online and digital, we are in a loneliness epidemic, and it has never been harder to meet people. It's never harder to ascertain what is real. This person flogging me something on Instagram, is that them or is that their avatar? What is real? What is not? But what is real is sitting down, having a meal, passing a plate, cheersing a glass of wine, and connecting through food. And Secret Foodies is the business that has to stay regardless of anything I do.
Wow. I love that conviction. I love that it's a really profound kind of insight that the further we run online, kind of the lonelier we get. And I think you saw that in 2008 when you were starting Eat, Drink, Play and Secret Foodies. And now it's all happening again because we're striving for connection. And in a city that is completely overpriced, in a world that is quite literally collapsing around us, where it's, $3 a litre to fill up your car. Sometimes sharing a meal is one of those most important things that we want to do again. And the fact that there's, again, not to be callous, but the fact that there is a business model around it that can help businesses, yourself, in such a way that has much more purpose. And again, you're not a fluffy person. You're not airy fairy. You are direct. You are assertive, and I love those things about you. And the fact that you've been able to get passion, purpose, and profit, like that utopian triple bottom line, I think that is, to me, what is so impressive about these businesses that you run, because they're based in this belief that we should spend more time together, and that, the thing that brings us joy are the things we should do more of. And I think people aren't they don't believe enough in their own convictions to go then and do the hard work to find businesses around it. But I think that's absolutely what you've done.
Yeah, I like that.
So
What did you say? It
I
was
love it.
purpose, passion, and profit. What did you say? I like that.
Profit. Yeah.
Profit. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. You can write that down. I'll
I like
I'll
that
put that
one.
one on the Instagram.
That's nice. That needs to be a poster on everyone's wall. Like that is right. That's what you're aiming for if you can get the three. And even Eat, Drink, Play, the whole purpose of Eat, Drink, Play is designed to inspire and enhance people's social lives in real life. Right. So it's about whether it's a,
Yeah.
expensive fancy dinner or whether it's this, $3 taco you got to try or a free event that might be happening.
Yeah.
And like that's fine. It's varying degrees, but it's all about leave your house, leave your comfort zone, go and try
Yep.
something. Discover your city.
So these themselves, these businesses, they were based in content. They were based in connection. They were based in working with business partners. They were based in working with like venues, trades, food and beverage, businesses. You then made this big agency pivot into founding an agency. Um, First of all, why after all this time was agency the right kind of, or let's say the decision at the time? And then what were kind of the most unexpected things that happened by starting that business in the first few weeks, I should say?
Mm. So it was a natural progression. I had been doing Eat, Drink, Play, Secret Foodies for about 10, nearly 10 years. And particularly Secret Foodies, people would say, hey, that was the restaurants. That was great. We love doing that event for you. How do you sell out events? How do we grow an email database? How do we do our social media? Like, how could we do those things? And those questions had constantly been
Mm,
asked me over the years. And at the same time, I wanted to be stimulated a bit more. I'd run Eat, Drink, Play. I'd had that awesome role of being the editor of Eat, Drink, Play and going to every cool thing out there. I'd done all the Secret Foodies events, and I had some people in place who were more than capable of running those things that I was personally looking for my next challenge as well. And I'm like, okay, I've set up 2 businesses. Can I do this again for other people's businesses? That's the next challenge. And
yeah.
so
Yep.
that's what I did. I knew I didn't want to do another business on my own because I was also looking for someone else that I could learn from. So I actively was looking for a business partner for this business, unlike the other 2, which I'd started
Mm,
my own. And then there's someone I'd worked with before doing some events, come from a chef background, but also had quite a good knowledge base of marketing. And I approached them and said, hey, over a glass of wine, we did an event together. I said we should start a business together. And we did. So we started Crackles as 50/50 business partners. And I still owned Eat, Drink, Play, and Secret Foodie. So I was like, cool, I've got this base. We can do this. And I think we started the agency within 4 months. I think COVID hit. So that was obviously a big pivot. I think what I learned in the first couple of weeks, though, was what I did get from that business partner, which I think is great if you're an agency and you are going to have a business partner, picking someone that has a different skill set that you can learn from. And I think sometimes I got a little bit stuck in the process rather than just doing it. And also particularly around money as well. So I'd be like, oh, put this proposal together and this and this and this. And sometimes it's like, hey, someone's just told us the budget. They can do this. Let's just say yes, take the money, and we know we can do the job and let's do it. Right. So there was that
yeah.
things like that probably projected us forward a little bit more. And then we, yeah.
And
You
then
look like you were going to
so
say
when you
something, and I was like,
started,
sorry, you go.
sorry, no, I was thinking, like, I was working out those first few weeks, those first few months, like for you, they were kind of, because they became almost about COVID, that agency experience would have been really unique. And the fact that you've come out the other side of it, what are the things you would have done differently? Not that I think a silly question might be if you knew COVID was coming, but if you were setting up again, what were the things that you would be different? What would be the advice you'd give yourself to set up a business again, like an agency specifically?
So I don't think I would tell. Oh, there are so many things I could have done differently, and I would not go back and
Yeah.
tell myself to do anything. because I believe in
Okay.
where I am right now, and it was a journey and I've got here. So I would not go back and change a thing. I don't, butterfly effect, wouldn't do it. But if
Yep.
I'm giving other people advice, like I've got plenty, right?
Yeah.
I got plenty for you.
Yeah. Go for it.
So yeah, it's not advice to myself. It's advice to everybody out there. Okay.
Better.
First of all, if you don't have to get a business partner, don't. I think what you're better off doing is having trusted mentors or advisors, or building a pool of people around you, or at least not doing 50-50 equity. Unless almost like you need to do therapy with a business partner before you delve into it. Make sure that you have the right values and alignment and whatnot. And even then, just like marriages and divorces, people go into things with the best possible intent, and it doesn't always work out. So I think get your legalities in place. The momentum was just rolling and it was exciting. And I think at the beginning I was like, we need to get a director agreement in place. And it was like, oh, this is just such a little thing. Let's just roll and see where it gets to. But from little things, big things grow. And you would have heard it on any business podcast you've ever listened to. But do your due diligence, even if you are getting into something and you think it's just going to be a little thing or a one-off project. Get your legals in order, like get an agreement, get something in writing. It just makes things easier further down the track. So that's big one.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Firstly, I agree with you on the business partner if you need to. I think what people doubt in themselves, they can find through other people without having like a structural impact on their business or an organizational structure. And secondly, I learned the same lesson. Like if you're going to sell, I don't care if it's cupcakes or if you're going to be writing, legal software for the finance industry, you should have shareholders agreements, do your own learning and education on what this will mean today, in the future, plan for every worst case scenario. Like my advice to somebody the other day, and it's a little bit crass, was you should prepare for your business partner to sleep with your partner. Like do it to that degree and work backwards and you'll know you're bulletproof. Like it's not going to happen just as long as you think these other things aren't going to happen. But at least then you're disconnecting yourself from the emotion and the excitement of, hey, I'm going to start a business, to things go wrong, people change, and that's no one's fault. But you've just got to remember that we're human, we grow, we change, we error, and that has a very specific impact on documents, legal structure, and finances. Sorry, I cut you off. What's
No.
lesson number 3?
No, not at all. Just to reiterate that. So I got married and divorced in the same month last December. So I got married.
I actually forgot about that.
Yeah. So my actual husband, the love of my life, we got married. We eloped in December. And we got married.
Husband now.
Husband now, yeah. And I separated from my business partner in December, and it was a divorce. Like it was a divorce and a marriage in the same month. So it is like that. And I know it's a bit of a boring tip, but yeah. And also it's never been easier to get these things in order. I mean, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on these things. You could literally put it into an AI and write it and sign some agreement, like get someone to witness it. It's never been easier. So just do it. Even if you've got a small idea, if you're starting an agency, if you're starting a business, just do it. Like you've got to do it. What was the overarching question again? What other advice?
What were those other lessons you would teach somebody who's just opening their own business, opening their own agency? So first of all, business partner if you need it. Second one, get all your paperwork in order, no matter how big, no small. Third one, prepare for the inevitable.
Yeah, I think
Not inevitable, the unpredictable.
The unpredictable for sure. I think run as lean as possible. Okay, because cash flow is real, and this is any business. But in agency, you can get caught up, and it is easy to all of a sudden have a lot of overheads. And again, it's never been easier. Do you really need an office 5 days a week? A lot of things are online these days. Like, how can you structure your agency being as lean as possible and with profitability in mind would be the next one.
And to go and learn those things, like what does cash flow really means? And I think we're also nervous about needing to know everything. Like, what is cash flow? What is a P&L? What is a balance sheet? You know, how the fuck do taxes work? Why are they so big? What are real staff costs? Like, people tell you salaries and super great. That's half of it. But then it's like the staff related costs. What does that look like? And
Well,
my advice just on this is to anyone running a business, I think the absolute number one number to know is like what percentage of your agency costs are your employees. And basically for us, and I'm really happy to share this with people, is basically as soon as our staff costs get to about over 60%, we start losing profitability. If we can keep it as lean as 60%, we make profit and good profit. 65, it's pretty thin and things can go wrong, especially if a project goes over. 70 to 70 plus, it's almost not worth running.
yeah.
And having a really grown up conversation about your number around what that number is really important.
Super interesting, because I've got a friend who works at the top end of town, huge agency, hundreds of employees, and they work to 50%. So if their wages are,
Really?
yes, they're like 50% is what they work to. So you're not off the mark there. And I think that's a good one to work
Yeah.
to. And
Yeah. The
interestingly,
jargon is staff cost ratio. I should have said that earlier, but that'll be your jargon crosser. Yeah, SCR, if anyone asks you.
and also, it's interesting to look at the tipping point, right? So sometimes, I'm talking about Darlinghurst, the hospitality marketing agency, and there would be a point where it was like, okay, it doesn't make sense for me to bring on one more client. I'm either bringing on 4 more clients, which would warrant another account manager, but one more client or 2 more clients is going to tip us over. So for instance, when we were turning over 1.2 million, we were making profit wise, I was getting paid less than when we turned over 800,000. So
Yeah.
knowing your tipping points and when you should hire has been another one. Also, I'm still working this out, so I don't want to give this as advice for people to go and try. And I'd love to know what other people, reach out and tell me what you're doing in agency land. So in ours, we generally had account managers who were generalists. So they were good at social media, they were good at EDMs, they were good at content creation, they were good at coming up with activations to help our restaurants get more bums on seats, right? And that was probably good enough maybe 3 years ago. Even 3 years ago, it was probably good enough. 2 years ago. But now it's no longer just about posting beautiful pictures on Instagram. You could have a whole retainer dedicated, which many agencies do. There are agencies out there just do content creation and social. And because we need our clients to almost have like the marketing funnel, and they need to be able to do lots of different things to generate new customers and get bums on seats. I've gone from having that generalist model of account manager to now I have more specialists. So, okay, this person just
Wow.
does
Okay.
ads, this person just does that. And then I've got a couple of account managers who are like conductors, and they orchestrate it all. I don't know if that's the right answer yet. And also, there will be agencies out there who are bigger, and maybe your retainers are higher. So you're like, well, of course, why wouldn't you have specialists? Why would I should get someone who's just doing the meta ads, and someone who's just doing organic social, and just someone who's doing content creation. But when you're talking a retainer of like $5,000 a month, and you're trying to do everything in the hospitality industry where these guys don't have huge budgets, like most other retainers, I'm sure would try, they'd be starting at 20,000 plus, like for a lot of the agencies, ours are small, so we have to be nimble with what we're working with. So yeah, knowing your industry and also how you divide your workforce to get the best results is another one.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think for us, we've often played around and mucking around, playing around. It was what it was. It was, do I want somebody who can stretch to digital, film, and brand? Do I want somebody who has their own creative chops to be able to give an opinion, a really informed opinion about where the work is going? Do I want a technical specialist who can work with our developers, or do I need a great communicator? And where am I willing to compromise? You talk about I-shaped people and T-shaped people. we live and die as double star on what we call M-shaped people. So it's not enough to go deep on one skill, wide on a couple of others. We need you to have 3+ really deep skills. So a great example might be one of our designers who is a brilliant brand designer, and that's a very specific specialty, but also they understand motion and animation. And then their third depth is actually UI design, so mobile app interfaces in particular, and understanding the visual language around that. Communication for us is pretty much a non-negotiable. Like all our staff talk to our clients and engage with our clients because of that size. But our account service people, whenever we had them, that was always the issue. And actually now for the first time, we've only got one, and it's because those retainers do everything. And their role is to translate. Their role is to work with me on the creative outcome. So actually for us, unlike most agencies, our client service are actually a path to become a creative lead, because they need to understand the inputs and outputs of ideas, not the craft, not the technical side of it. But again, that's something we've probably taken 6 years to learn, and now it makes sense, and now we can keep doing it. But it's difficult. It is really, really difficult. You mentioned before knowing your industry, knowing your business. Hospitality obviously is a niche, and most agencies resist that kind of specialization because it feels like they're shrinking the opportunity or they're shrinking their audience base. What's your case for going narrow, and has it ever felt limiting?
No. I think there's
Good.
enough. No,
Great. Next question.
no, no. I think
Sorry,
there,
go.
I think there is more benefit in going niche, particularly now when competition
Hmm.
is out there and there are so many generalist agencies. Honing in and specialize in one particular area has been great for me. The only limitation
Yep.
might be in, because I get bored a little bit easily, might be my own
Yep.
limitations. So this year, part of the change in the agency is that I'm also want to pick up brand work clients. So you mentioned before I had worked with Diageo and alcohol brands, and I want to get a bit more into that. So yeah, a bit more product led this year, and working with them, which is such a natural fit with on-premise venues as well. So yeah, but still in hospo, and I think carving out a niche has worked really well for my agency.
Last point on the hospitality section, and I think this one's just a bit of a bonus. What do you think most hospo, whether it's a venue or you're an operator, what's the most common mistake hospitality businesses make, and what's the kind of thing you find yourself reinforcing over and over again?
There's probably plenty, but the one that springs to mind the most is consistency. Do you know how many clients I've
Hmm.
had who, cool, we're going to put this happy hour special on. We're going to run a hospo night on a Monday night, and we're going to offer this special deal. And they run it for 2 weeks and they don't get enough people in, and then they want to pull it. And it's like, what? It has to be consistency, and you need to stick at
Yep.
something for a period of time before you can gauge whether it's actually working. So consistency would be my big one for the hospo
Yep.
industry.
What about for you personally? Is there a mantra? Is there a lesson? Is there a person? Is there something you live and die by as an individual, as an agency operator, but also as a person?
Yeah, I think this came back from my Secret Foodies days. I'm trying to think what it was. I had it stuck to my wall. It was a little handwritten note for years, and it said something. I can't remember what exactly the wording was, but it was, "Say it now, make it clear, to avoid awkwardness later." Something like that. And it came because when I was doing Secret Foodies events, a lot of the time I assumed things. Oh, I assume they knew about that, we're going to split the cost on this. I assumed that they had the drinks under control. I assumed this. No, that old saying, an ass makes an ass out of you and me. No, there is no
Yeah.
assumptions, and I've had to really work on this because it doesn't come natural to me, and as you said, I'm a fairly direct person, but I don't think it comes natural to anyone having to have what might feel like a bit of an awkward conversation, but setting the
Yeah.
expectations from the beginning. If something feels like it's going off track and Scope creep is a huge one in agency world. So maybe it's scope creep. Like they ask you to do some things and it's not within scope, but you might, okay, we'll just do it now. But then that happens again. And then I think you've got to realign the expectation, and having that one moment of awkwardness where you bring it up in a respectful and clear way will mean the difference between it turning sour later on.
100%. I think I can remember that sign being written in your office. And yeah, I can't remember the wording either, but it was, ask, ask early, ask direct, and be clear. I think that was just some really good advice, because it is as brash or as terse or as abrupt as I can be. I will still pull my punches if I'm worried about making somebody feel awkward. Like, it is just a funny thing you do, especially when it's your own business. If it's about money, if it's about something where you've kind of got to call somebody out, especially around scope creep, we feel undeserving. And it's like, at the end of the day, like, so many people would turn around and just say, oh, that's so fine, of course. And like, it's relief. And if there is a bit of confusion, 9 times out of 10, it's like, oh yeah, let's just sort that out quickly now. And I mean, some of the most brutal conversations I've had have come out of confusion that's been left, unspoken for far too long. Whereas the hard conversations you have early, or as Katja, one of the other interviews we had, was like, hug the hard problems. This idea that, yes, it's hard, wrap both arms around it and just hope for the best, and generally you'll be okay. And I've just started doing that, and I just feel better. Like, I'm a fairly positive person, but this really can get at me sometimes.
And I think you and I both talked about this. This is such a simple one, I feel like, in business, in life in general, but send the follow-up email.
Yeah.
Send the bloody
Yeah.
follow-up email. Like, you've said something, just confirming what we've discussed, blah, 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 blah. Or,
Yeah.
hey, just met someone at a
Yeah.
networking event. You've asked for their details. Don't
Yep.
send the LinkedIn, hey, so great to connect with you, blah, 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 blah. Like, just always send. It takes 2 seconds. Don't be lazy. Do it. Because that follow-up email, having it in writing, the little message, nice to meet you, they're the things that people will remember and respect.
Yeah. Could not agree more. On the staff and partners, what's the hardest thing you've learned about employing, managing staff and team members, and what's the hardest and the biggest lessons you've learned about having business partners?
Mm. I think I think with staff, we had a really interesting one because coming out of COVID, everyone was working remotely and we didn't have an office, and we thought this was like a badge of honor. We were so proud of it. Everyone works from home, and it's a real recruitment driver because people want the flexibility. So we've been able to attract great talent, and everyone's working from home. And then the reality is we got 6 months in and we had no culture, we had no collaboration, we had no creativity. Now, I know someone who
Yeah.
has a law firm and they all work remote, and they've got, I don't know, like 40 staff and they all work remote. And I said, but what about your culture? And they're like, oh no, we have no culture, but we pay them shitloads of money and they get flogged, and that they're fine with it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it can work in different business models if people are money orientated and you're results driven, and that's what you got to do. But in an industry like agency land where you do need creativity, we didn't have that. And so we then shifted to a hybrid model 2 days a week. And of course, anyone who we'd had in their contract that you could work from home, we had to then say, okay, no, we're coming into the office, but this will be great for you. And having that conversation. And I remember there was outrage if we better not go to 3 days, or it was really difficult. Because people really valued their freedom. But then at the same time, I could see the shift when they did come in. Everyone was like
Yeah.
quite happy and producing lots. And it's probably not healthy to sit at home 5
Yeah.
days with yourself and your thoughts. So yeah, I think you do need some in person at some point, or you need to have some sort of human connection with your staff. For sure would be one of them, at least.
Yeah. Look, from our point of view, I think they're two different cultures. I think there are businesses that can run purely at home, like your friends. law firm where that's what they all want to do, and they do get flogged, and their outputs, and their salaries, they all equal the same thing that somebody up top with a spreadsheet needs it to earn. But for me, that's not the business I want to run, and I truly think people do their best work when, to check in on them. It's not a 15-minute Slack call. It's not a, scheduled meeting just to say, how's that red circle coming along? How's that video coming along? Because it puts pressure on the creative. It puts pressure on me. It's this glued to Slack. It's the I'm in a bad mind frame today. It's like I've had an upsetting phone call. It's like just not in the right place. Like today on one of our meetings, our daily stand up. Obviously, I'm here in New Zealand working remote. I checked in and I said, hey, so and so, why don't you just stay on the call afterwards? I said, hey, how you doing? Like you don't seem yourself. What's going on? And they said, no, I'm fine. And I could just see them through the camera that they weren't. And I said, I think you just need a day off. Like, why don't you just take the day? There's nothing pressing. And they had like 2 or 3 reasons why they couldn't. I said, none of those are big reasons. They said, oh, okay. Like, I think I would really need it, or would really like to take the day off. I said, great, do it. But if I didn't see them through the camera, let alone just know enough about them because they're relatively new to say take a day off, I wouldn't get it. And in our office, it's like, I don't care if you're coming for 2 hours and you have to go back because you're just not feeling it. You get a bad phone call, have a fight with a mate, friend, partner, parent, whatever. Just learn that there's flexibility in how you can operate rather than believing in one of these systems as one or the other. But for me, it's in person, the best work. We collaborate, we communicate. There's no misunderstandings. You read people. That's what I want. That's a culture that I want. And if want to go and push numbers around or legal documents around, not be not talk to anyone and not talk to your staff and just sit at home and do it, fine. But that's not what I think a great agency is about.
Yeah. And it comes down to back to industry as well. I mean, for mine, I'm in hospitality.
Yeah.
We are a people person
Yeah.
business. We're here to serve. So
Yeah.
if my clients are in person, then that's nice to go and see them in person. And pretty much all my clients, they want to see it in the flesh. So every 2 weeks, we go into venue, they make you a cup of coffee, you talk about the business. That's how we do business.
Yeah. What's been, if we think about the things we reflect back on your career, you've been business building for 2 decades. You've been doing this more than one business at a time. You've had marriages, divorces, business go well, business go bad, like all of us on the brink doing well, it's up and down. What's been the cost for you personally? Or what's the cost you think agency owners go through when they're starting to do this, whether it's businesses whether it's agencies or whether it's businesses in general? What's that cost they have?
Oh, good question. And just to be clear, it was a divorce from my business partner, not my personal. Great question. I think a couple of things, couple of the biggest costs. There's costs and there's benefits. So again, I wouldn't change anything where I'm sitting today. But the
No.
cost, I've got friends like probably being mom and having the kids. So there were most of my friends took 12 months off maternity leave. It was 3 months after I had Finn, and I hired a nanny to come to the house, and in between, Zoom calls and whatever, I was like breastfeeding. And my daughter, she went back at 6 months into like 5 days of daycare. And I remember she hadn't weaned. So I was working from home, driving up to daycare, breastfeeding twice, and then coming back. So, there was that side of things. That was a cost of having my own business and having an agency. But then there's also the benefits of, having the flexibility to be able to, work the hours that I want and do things that I need to for family life. So, I think family life and how that impacts is probably the biggest cost when it comes to agency and business, but you can make that what you want to.
Yeah. I love your attitude around, I'm not going to tell my younger self anything. I wouldn't change anything. I think that's such a wonderful, positive, but pragmatic way to look at the world when we're so busy trying to be perfect, when there's always somebody telling us what we can and we should do, when we tell ourselves what we should and shouldn't do. There was somebody who used to tell me, we're so busy shoulding all over ourselves. And I'll never forget that, because I'm like, we do. We tell ourselves that we're not good enough in such these slight ways that, again, I'm not airy-fairy about these things. We just do it. I should have done that. I should have done this. I wish I'd done this better. But mistakes are how we grow. We have to earn our success. And I think everyone expects just to do all the right things and they'll get it, that it's a sequence, that it's a formula, that it's a way of doing things. But, it's just not. And I think your conviction around not wanting to change a thing, letting my younger self make those mistakes is a really wonderful one.
Yeah. Anytime the
So,
world
yeah.
feels a little bit overwhelming and you think, am I going to make the right choice or not? I've had so many staff, oh, should I do this or this? Or I've mentored people and they've at a crossroad. I've always said, whatever you're going to do, you were always going to do. Like, I kind of believe in predeterminism in that way, even if it's like, oh, I'm going to leave it up to fate or I can change my destiny. No, it was all like, whatever you're going to do, you were going to do. So you'll get to the other end and it will be a lesson, and anything that you could have changed, your whole life would be different. So yeah, just trust in the process of what you're going to do, and you'll learn the journey from it.
I love that. Well, Alex Adams, thank you. Thank you for sharing your experiences and your expertise with us. Sorry again about the location mix-up, but as always, I love speaking with you. I forget how much I still learn from you 20 years on, and I can't wait to see where Darling Crackles goes next, as well as all your other businesses. And I'm sure we will talk to you again soon.
Likewise. Thank you. Lots of love.
Agency Land, a Survivors podcast, is hosted and produced by me, Jai Smith, founder and head of creative and strategy at Double Star Co. Our intro track, Crash and Burn, featuring North Lanes by Phase One, used with the kindest of permissions from Fat Cat Music. Special thanks to Carla Munn and Jaron Norton for the art, design, and motion. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, leave us a review, and share it with somebody navigating agency life. Until then, you're good, get better, and stop asking for things.